Alright, so I've got my basic supplies. I've got a cup of water, and you don't need that much because you just need to dip your brush in the bottom there. I've got my pile of crayons over here in a bunch of colors. I have lots of greens and purples and blues because those are my favorites. I've got a paintbrush, and I have just saved 2 pages in my journal. And we're going to go over some techniques. Oh no. Does anyone see my glasses? I put them on my nightstand last night. Or rather, when I took a nap this afternoon, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. They're not anywhere. I don't know where they've gone. And so, I don't know what to do. To the business of the day. The response to my suggestion about a tutorial about watercolor crayons was so big that I've put off editing my last video, which was a binding video, to do this special feature on watercolor crayons. Oh my goodness, look! I was using some gesso and then my glasses popped out of the bottle. I had to wash them off, of course, but I'm always losing things in my paint. I just can't get over it. They're always disappearing when I'm working on something. It might be because I never clean anything up, and I usually fall asleep afterwards. Anyway, one of the first techniques I want to show you is how to do a background with your watercolor pencils. What we're going to do is just paint the background of your page with any color. In this page, I've used my gloss. Okay. One of the cool things you can do is actually use them with your paint. I love my glosses, okay? They are the coolest colors. They are, they're just awesome. And they're like, what are they, 99 cents at Michael's? Yeah. So I put down a layer of the gloss, and then what we're going to do is we're going to color around the edges here with azurite blue. Here's the crayon. It actually broke and I lost the top of it. We're going to go around the edges. Now my mugs is blue. We're going to go around the edges with the azurite blue, do about an inch around the edges, and you want to use lots of water. And you might be thinking, well, that really dilutes it and everything like that. But then, while it's still wet, go over it really fast with some paper towels, and that's going to give you that that border around it that you can get when you use acrylics, but sometimes it doesn't work as well. And I've used that before on a journal page, as you can see on this one, and I did the same thing, same colors, just one around the edges, and wiped it off with the paper towel, and that just gave me the kind of grungy blue edge I wanted, and it was a lot easier and less messy. One of the really cool things about using acrylic or using watercolor crayons is that if you have a water brush, which I do, I don't really like them that much, but I have one. What you can do is use these wherever you are. I mean, if you gesso your pages before you start working on them, you can be in an airport, which I have been, in a restaurant, sitting on your couch watching a movie. I mean, 'cause it's not any mess because you just color with the crayon and then, you know, and plus they're crayons, so you can do the darker effects and draw and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, they're really easy to use. They're really clean. When it comes down to it, easy to transport, easy to use out in public, which I have. So, I mean, there's just so much going for them. So, the next thing we're going to do is do a 3-colored background. And on this background, I'm using 3 colors. And we're just going to color in the background and kind of blend things together. Now, one of the nice things is that when you're blending together your watercolor crayons and they might start drying, you might think, oh, well, I can't do anything. Well, you have maybe like a window of like 10 minutes after you lay down the color to kind of blend it. After you've done the background, go ahead and lay down another layer of color. These don't mix like oil pastels do, where you can mix the colors together by layering them, but what they will do is blend together to give you a different color. So you don't have as much freedom as you do when using paint, because you can mix paint, but still there are a lot of really cool effects that you can do with them. So now that we've done 2 background techniques, what we're going to do is work on tinting some paper. And here I have some found paper. It's musical paper that I got from, excuse me, a book I found at a thrift store that unfortunately closed. It makes me so sad because I loved that thrift store. It was for a hospital too, so I mean, how could you not like it? But anyway, what we're going to do is just color a layer on it of the crayon, and then we're going to use a lot of water. Now, remember how I said it was good to gesso your pages before you worked on them, or else you were going to water down your colors? Well, it works in your favor here, because when you paint on them, the effect you get is this, and you can see this right here. Now you can still see the crayon marks in some of it because it's not going to blend as well. But you can see that you can still see the lines through the paper, and so it's just color tinted. Now to get an effect like this, you would have to really water down some acrylics and paint them on there and hope they don't saturate and it would be uneven, but this gives you just the tinted paper that you can use anywhere on your journal page that you want to use. Now, I know a lot of people like using gesso over stuff to make things whiter. What's cool is that if you get the white crayon, after things have dried, so give it maybe that 10-minute window I was talking about, you can go over it with the white crayon, get it wet, and that will give you the lighter area. So it's just like using the gesso there. It helps with when you're shading or when you want to do emphasis. You can do a couple layers of this to make it whiter, stuff like that. Now there's one more thing you can do with watercolors, and I call it the desperate, oh my god, I totally need to color this and I don't have anything but my crayons. You just color with your crayons, dip your finger in the water, and voila! You've got some more watercolor fun on your page. This part also shows you what it looks like when you try to use watercolor crayons on paper that hasn't been gessoed, or watercolor paper, because honestly, if you have really good watercolor paper, it's going to give you the same effect that I showed you on the gesso on the watercolor paper. I just like it because it's easier to blend colors together and stuff like that, and everybody has gesso. Everybody has Jello. Or likes Jello or something, I don't know. I don't like Jello, so it doesn't really work for me. So yeah, after all this, you can draw, you can color things in, you can shade areas, just like how I showed you to shade the background. You can shade an area of your page. Now here, what you can do is what a lot of people can do with oil pastels, is you just use your finger and smear it around, and it gives you a kind of, I don't really know how to describe the look that it gives you. It's kind of a messy, fuzzy-edged kind of look, and I really like that in some cases, so it's a lot of fun and easy to do, and gives your page more character. And of course they're crayons, so you can just color with the crayons. One thing I do want to tell you is that if you do just color with the crayons, nothing is going to work over them except for pen and ink. It killed my gel pens, it killed my white pen, it killed my micron. I mean, not killed, but you know, like I stopped before the death, but they definitely got ill. So that's why I used pen and ink over them on the last page. Oh, I used pen and ink over them, and then I used just regular ballpoint pen. I mean, that works too. I always carry one around because it works over a ton of stuff, and I mean, you never know what you're going to be working over, so use that.